30 years ago, a terrible war breaks out between humans and demons, and it is the brave and determined Mervinger family who plays the most important role in defeating the demons and helping the humans win the war. However, this victory comes at a huge cost. Almost the entire Mervinger family is killed in the fighting, and in the end, only 2 young children survive: 8-year-old Elric Mervinger and his little sister. At first, everyone praises the Mervingers as heroes, but soon after the war, the same people who once supported them turn their backs on the 2 orphan children. This sudden cruelty and rejection leaves a deep scar on Elric's heart, especially because he has already lost so much at such a young age. From that day on, Elric makes a promise to himself. He will work as hard as he can to become a powerful wizard, stronger than anyone else, and restore the honor of his family name. But fate has even more hardships in store for him. When Elric tries to learn magic, he is diagnosed with a very rare disease called mana-avascularity, which makes it impossible for him to use magic at all. This condition makes him the target of mockery, and he becomes the butt of everyone's jokes, even though he tries everything to find a cure for his illness: doctors, magic remedies, and prayers. Nothing seems to help him. For years, he struggles and feels hopeless, until one day he hears about a rumor. A legendary dragon is said to possess the power to cure any illness. Elric sees this as his last hope and decides to seek out the dragon, hoping it can heal him and help him reclaim the lost glory of the Mervinger family. But when he finally finds the dragon, his hopes are completely shattered because the dragon is already dead. Instead of finding a cure, Elric is greeted by the shadowy figure of a horned man with a strange, unsettling smile. This mysterious figure tells Elric that he has found a new body to take over and starts to move closer to him. He offers Elric a terrible choice: to join forces and use their combined power to destroy the world and build a new one together. Suddenly, dark energy starts swirling around Elric, as if the shadow is trying to take control of his body. In that frightening moment, Elric realizes with horror that this is all a trap set by the Dark Prince from the beginning. He understands that if he had known what would happen, he never would have gone searching for the dragon in the first place. Still, as he faces the darkness threatening to consume him, Elric holds on to one final promise: he will not let himself be defeated or taken over so easily, no matter what. Elric sits quietly in the doctor's office as he is given the difficult news about his condition, mana-avascularity. The doctors tell him they have tried every treatment they can think of, but none of them have worked. No matter what they do, there is no solution for Elric's illness, and he will never be able to use magic for the rest of his life. It is a crushing blow, especially since magic is everything in his world. Later that day, while he is at Usden Academy, Elric calls his sister. She sounds nervous and full of worry as she asks about what the doctor has said. Even though Elric knows deep down there is no hope left for a cure, he does not want to upset his sister. He tries to sound cheerful and tells her not to worry, insisting that he will be able to take care of himself and that he will be just fine soon. Hais, his sister, wants to believe him, but she cannot help feeling anxious. Elric can sense her unease, so he quickly makes up an excuse and ends the call early. Afterward, he sits alone and feels nervous, wondering how he is ever going to tell his sister the truth, that he might have no choice but to come back home soon because things are not going well. Trying to distract himself, Elric walks over to the board where the end-of-term results are posted, hoping for even a little good news. As he scans the list, he sees that he has passed all his theory exams with outstanding marks, scoring higher than almost everyone else. However, his happiness vanishes when he sees that he has failed the magic practice exams once again. It is his 4th time failing them, and he knows what that means. He is going to be expelled from the academy. Elric feels frustrated and helpless. He has studied every single textbook, memorized every spell, and worked harder than anyone else to achieve the highest grades. He is gifted with a sharp mind and a unique ability to detect and analyze mana, a skill that most wizards can only dream about. Yet, none of those talents matter, because his illness prevents him from ever using magic. One of his teachers even suggests that, with his knowledge, Elric could become a professor at the academy. But teaching is not what Elric wants. He dreams of restoring the honor and pride of his family. His grandfather, Ostan Mervinger, has been known as the Wizard of the Stars, a legendary hero from the Demon War, and he has even built the academy Elric now attends. To be expelled from that very school would not just hurt Elric, it would feel like he is disgracing his family name all over again. Lost in these painful thoughts, Elric suddenly overhears two freshmen whispering about him behind his back. Annoyed, he approaches them and threatens to report them to their teaching assistant Sean if they do not stop. The two freshmen, clearly intimidated, run away quickly. Later, trying to take his mind off things, Elric starts reading a book, still searching for anything that might cure his condition. Suddenly, he feels a sharp slap on the back. Turning around, he sees it is Sean, his only real friend, looking angry. Sean is upset that Elric has used his name to scare the freshman. Sean Neresta comes from the famous Neresta family, one of the top families running the empire since the Mervingers have lost power. These days, the Turium, the center of magical authority, is managed by a council called the Hexacle, made up of the 6 most powerful families, including the Nerestas. But despite his family's status, Sean has always stayed by Elric's side, never abandoning him like the others do. As they sit together, Sean hands Elric a folded paper and explains it is about a new exploration plan to find the legendary Diamond Dragon. He encourages Elric to join the expedition, telling him that a new type of proto-dragon rumored to be the very source of all Magicas just been discovered. As soon as Elric hears this, he snatches up the paper, his eyes wide with shock and hope. The idea that such a magical beast exists, and that it might hold the secret to curing his illness, fills him with excitement. Sean, noticing how thrilled Elric is, starts bragging about how lucky Elric is to have a friend like him. But Elric can hardly listen, his mind racing with thoughts of a possible cure. Still, Elric knows that, since this is an official academy project, any discoveries will belong to the dean, not to him. Suddenly, without warning, Elric slams the map down on the table and bursts out laughing in a wild, almost desperate way. Sean stares at him, confused by the sudden outburst, while Elric, still grinning, points to the map and boldly declares that the dragon's den is not where everyone thinks it is. Elric, speaking loudly and confidently, points at the map and grins at Sean, saying that the dragon's den isn't actually where everyone else thinks it is. Sean gets nervous right away and looks around to make sure nobody overhears, especially since their professors have helped pick the den's supposed location. He quietly tells Elric to keep his voice down and warns him to be careful, reminding him that with the powerful Neresta family name, it's important not to upset the professors or get on their bad side. Still, even though Sean is worried, he secretly agrees that Elric's thinking is clever, and he's impressed with how smart Elric is. He gently reminds Elric to speak more politely and behave as someone from a respected family should. Then Sean uses a little magic and draws a glowing circle around another area on the map for them to look at together. As they both study the map, they spot a fissure where 2 tectonic plates meet, and they see that a massive surge of mana is bursting from underground. Elric quickly guesses that the energy coming out is equal to 100,000 years' worth, which is almost impossible to imagine exactly what a real dragon's den would need. The more Elric looks at it, the more certain he becomes that this must be the right spot. Elric then asks about the 3 principles of the mana stream, which are old rules for finding places with strong magical power. Sean pauses, then remembers and says the rule: from high to low, from wide to narrow, from hot to cold. Sean says if Elric uses these, he will find the fissure for sure. But Sean also warns Elric that there's a flow of super hot groundwater underneath, making it hard for mana to collect, and even hard for dragons to survive. He points out Mount Akron, a huge volcano, and Elric realizes the heated water from the volcano spreads across the continent, changing magic everywhere. But as Sean tries to puzzle out why a dragon's den would be so hard to find, he grows confused and frustrated, since they have already detected a strong dragon mana signal coming from the area, but there are no signs of there being a den. Elric, however, just smiles and tells Sean that he never actually said there was no den, simply means it isn't exactly where everyone is searching. He then points to a new spot, saying that the den is actually inside the Carago cave. A little later, Sean finds himself nervously walking toward the dean's office, his mind full of doubt. He does not know how he should tell the dean about what Elric has discovered, especially since saying the professors are wrong could mean trouble for him or even getting expelled from the academy. Still, there is also a possibility that Elric might actually be right. While lost in thought, Sean hears a sound from the training room and sees Elric inside, struggling desperately to focus his mana in hopes of regaining the Mervinger family's lost honor. Sean watches his friend, feeling a mix of sympathy and determination, and realizes that this might be Elric's only real chance to cure his illness. Deciding to be a loyal friend, Sean bravely enters the dean's office to report what he and Elric have found. The dean, upon hearing this, feels personally insulted that his own research team could be mistaken. His pride is hurt, and he lets Sean know he is angry, declaring that Sean will face consequences for this, no matter how important his family is. The dean, who is a powerful seven-circle wizard, begins to release a massive amount of mana, making the air in the room heavy and tense. Before things can get worse, Elric suddenly bursts in, opening the door loudly. He bows deeply, apologizing for his abrupt entrance, and faces the dean directly. The dean wastes no time, asking Elric if he is the one who convinced Sean to bring this information. Elric admits that he is, and the dean responds by saying he appreciates the insight, but insists that Elric's claim is just a gut feeling and has no real proof. Elric, unfazed, calmly smiles and replies that his reasoning is actually based on simple common sense, so clear that even a child can understand it. Meanwhile, Sean sits nearby, quietly crying tears of stress and frustration, wondering why Elric seems to be provoking the dean instead of showing more respect. The dean snaps back, taunting Elric for being a failing student who can't even concentrate mana, and then coldly tells him that there are people in the world who sometimes get lucky and others who are simply useless and do not know their place, pointing directly at Elric. Despite these harsh words, Elric refuses to back down. Realizing he cannot ignore the possibility, the dean suggests a wager. Elric, surprised, asks for details. The dean explains that he will allow Elric to put together his own team to explore the site, and if Elric needs extra funds, he will be given a special budget. But if Elric fails to prove himself right, the dean wants one thing in return: the priceless family heirloom left to Elric by his legendary grandfather. Later, as the carriage rolls steadily, Sean loses his temper at Elric for agreeing to the dean's deal. Elric, however, seems completely unbothered, continuing to read his book with a detached palm. Frustrated, Sean snatches the book from his hands and shouts that if they fail to locate the den, he will lose his family's heirloom, an artifact passed down through generations. That heirloom is none other than the Grand Collar of Wizardry, a relic the dean has had eyes on for years. Strangely, Elric keeps smiling. That carefree smile only enrages Sean further, because he too will be dragged into ruin if Elric fails. Still angry, Sean demands to know what Elric plans to do next. Elric finally sits up, and to Sean's surprise, reveals that he doesn't accept the dean's wager because he wants to stay in the academy. He then declares that if the dean wants the Mervinger family's treasure, then he'd better be prepared to give up his position as dean. A little anxious, Sean remembers, other than being labeled the shame of the Mervinger family, Elric once earns another infamous title, the Mad Dog of the Mervinger family. Elric suddenly wears an eerie smile, which makes Sean uneasy. 7 years ago, when they first enter the academy and Elric is only 15, most of the other students are already practicing their mana. Due to his condition, Elric lags behind, which leads to whispers and doubt. People question whether he's even a true Mervinger, and he gets bullied often that he's probably adopted. Sean pities Elric, Sure, but he pities the ones who provoke him even more, because Elric always makes sure they pay the price. Later, Elric gets appointed to Usden Academy's disciplinary committee. Whenever asked about his ruthless justice, Elric casually states that he punishes his bullies according to the Empire's law. Eventually, he's suspended. The Academy's regulations hold that all students are equal, but after that incident, no one dares cross him again. Snapping back to the present, Sean suddenly notices what Elric is reading. It's a banned book, and Elric is reading it in plain sight. Sean gets furious and begins to yell, demanding to know what Elric's intentions are. Nervously, Elric admits that if he gets caught, he could very well be executed, but Sean insists, asking why he is reading the Tiger King's body fortification. Elric replies innocently he believes there might be a way to cure his condition in that book. After all, back in ancient times, the Tiger King leads the Therianthropes and invades the Empire. His body fortification makes him nearly invincible. It takes the Empire's full might to repel the Therianthropes and drive them beyond the borders. A wall is raised to keep them out, and the Tiger King loses the ability to use his fortification. Sean interrupts, asking if the scholars haven't failed to restore it. But Elric calmly corrects him, the scholars in fact do succeed in restoring it. Now, Elric's task is to find a way to apply that to his own body. Sean can hardly believe it, but in the end he decides to trust Elric. Suddenly, the carriage comes to a stop. Alerted, both Sean and Elric step outside to see what's going on. In front of them stands Leburn and his group. Sean steps in front of Elric, ready to defend him, but Leburn gives up soon, stating that the dean sends them to offer assistance. At first, Elric finds the gesture suspiciously kind. He doesn't need help, certainly not from the dean. Sean leans toward him and whispers that some of Leburn's group are concealing their true strength, a move typical of the greedy Dean Verux. But Elric has come prepared. A little while earlier, back at the academy, Verux realizes something that makes his blood run cold. Elric has taken Gehenna's breath and the sky armor with him. Gehenna's breath is a devastating item containing ever-burning sulfur, capable of turning anything into ash. And sky armor, a legendary relic, offers powerful protection against both elemental magic and physical trauma. Verux loses his mind. The idea of handing over 2 4-star items to the mad dog of the Mervinger family is sheer madness. He can't let anyone find out, but a thought crosses his mind, wondering what will happen if Elric really does find the den. Verux mutters under his breath, Elric is a Mervinger after all. To cover his tracks, Verux quietly decides to fire several researchers due to the fact that a mere student discovers something that the trained scholars failed to see. He shakes off his anxiety with a sinister smile. Verux reassures himself that soon, thanks to Elric's foolish little bet, the Grand Collar of Wizardry will be in his possession. Once he obtains it, the position of minister will be within reach. The hunger for power burns clear in Verux's eyes. Elric may have won the bet, but that means nothing if he doesn't survive long enough to return. Elric carefully studies and deciphers the old, mysterious writing in front of him, his eyes scanning each symbol until he finally unlocks the meaning hidden within the ancient text. As soon as he's done, Sean, standing beside him, senses the remaining mana still floating in the air. With determination, Sean summons a powerful surge of his own magic, causing an overwhelming burst of energy to ripple out from him. He uses his magic to trace and follow the mana trail, and at last, he's able to pinpoint the exact, secret spot where the dragon's den is concealed. In that instant, it becomes clear to everyone on the team that Elric is right all along about where the den is located, even though most of them doubt him earlier. Without any hesitation, Elric turns to the group and shouts that they have to hurry up and move fast, because the special beam of light that marks the den's location will disappear quickly. Hearing the urgency in Elric's voice, Sean reacts immediately. He grabs Elric tightly by the waist, and with the use of his blinding speed magic, dashes forward at a speed so fast that the rest of the team is left far behind, unable to keep up. After some time, the others finally catch up to the marked spot, but when they arrive, they're left completely speechless by what they find, or more accurately, what they don't find. There is nothing there. No cave, no den, just open ground and emptiness. Since dragons hardly ever live in open exposed areas, the team becomes even more confused, unsure of what to think. Sensing an opportunity to embarrass Elric, Liebern steps forward with a mocking grin, ready to tease him for being wrong. But before Liebern can say anything, Elric quickly asks Sean to use his magic to blast a hole in the ground. Sean wastes no time and unleashes a massive explosion, blowing apart the earth below them. To everyone's shock, a hidden den is revealed deep beneath the surface. Suddenly, a thick wave of mana bursts upward from the darkness, washing over the group and taking their breath away. Elric quickly assures everyone that this is only a release of mana, nothing dangerous, and tells them to stay calm. Now that the way is open, Elric takes the lead as they all prepare to climb down into the cave. As soon as they enter, a freezing cold hits them, even though Sean tries to use his magic to warm up the group, but the intense chill still lingers. They venture deeper into the cave, but suddenly Elric feels something strange just from the icy air, but a sense of danger that makes him raise his hand and order everyone to stop. Meanwhile, further inside the cave, there is a terrifying creature hidden in chains, with a single glowing eye, that senses the arrival of the group and grows excited at the newcomers. Back with Elric's team, Sean and Elric move forward and come face to face with a gigantic stone door, which stands as the real entrance to the dragon's den. The group is eager and begins debating how to open it, whether to break it down or use magic, but Elric quickly stops them, warning that the door is protected by a powerful dragon enchantment, and touching it without care could have deadly results. At the same time, Liebern wanders away from the group and finds a beautiful gold handle. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he grabs it. Elric notices just in time and screams for him to stop, but he's too late. Suddenly, the entire cave begins to tremble and rumble loudly, a deep, thunderous sound echoing everywhere. Elric instantly realizes that they have triggered a trap. Sean acts quickly, raising a strong magic shield to protect everyone from danger, and urges Elric to solve the next part of the ancient text before disaster strikes. The rest of the team is filled with fear and panic, not wanting to be trapped forever in the den, but Elric keeps a cool head. He tells them to trust him and stay calm, explaining that what they're facing is not only a trap, but also a test set by the dragon. He believes the answer they need is hidden somewhere in plain sight, just waiting for him to solve it, if he believes in himself. As Sean holds the magic barrier and fear swirls around them, Elric works quickly, deciphering the last part of the inscription. He turns to everyone, asking them to keep it together, because if his calculations are right, he might just be able to get them all out safely. Holding the golden handle tight, Elric chants a hopeful spell, silently praying that this nightmare will end well, as everyone's life now depends on him. It is almost like luck, or maybe even the gods, are helping Elric that day, because somehow his smart ideas actually work just right. The ground stops shaking, the loud, scary rumbling fades away, and for a short time, the dangerous situation they are all trapped in finally ends. Sean, who has been pushing himself to the limit using magic to protect the group, is now so tired that he is sweating and out of breath. He can't even stand anymore and collapses onto the floor, breathing hard. Elric sees his friend like that and hurries over to help, but Sean tries to brush it off, saying he is fine and not to worry about him. The rest of their team, still shocked from the life and death situation, looks around to check that nobody is hurt and everyone is okay. Then, in a rare moment, Sean tells Elric that he is really impressed by what Elric has done, and this compliment makes Elric feel extra proud and a bit more confident, since he has managed to prove everyone wrong. But their feeling of relief is short-lived. Suddenly, out of nowhere, someone in the group is hit by a powerful blast of magic and drops to the ground, and everyone realizes with fear that the danger isn't over. Yet another threat has started inside the cave. Sean, thinking quickly, uses whatever energy he has left to put up a protective shield around everyone, yelling for Elric to work faster and save the team. Elric jumps back into action, but when he looks at the magic, he is shocked to see it is no normal spell. This is dragon tongue magic. the rarest and oldest kind, believed to be the source of all magic. Realizing how serious things are, Elric races to the giant stone gate, while Sean shouts that he can't hold out much longer. In a last try, Elric throws his rare sky armor at the gate, surprising everyone that he even has such a powerful item. Elric hopes it will work, and luckily it does. The trap breaks, and everyone is safe. The gate opens, shining a bright light, and Elric calls everyone to come in. What they see leaves them speechless. Inside is a vast treasure room, overflowing with more riches and glittering gold than any of them have ever dreamed possible. The team stares in amazement, their eyes wide with disbelief. Elric walks through the piles of treasure and finds a collection of ancient, perfectly preserved parchments that stun him even further. One even mentions Elric by name, calling him the captain and praising his clever work. As Elric tries to process this, Sean sneaks up behind him, grabs him in a playful hug, and praises him for his quick thinking. Elric explains, with a small smile, that he has always been excellent in theory and has treated the crisis like a written exam, solving the structural formula of the spell and combining it with elemental magic to break the curse. Suddenly, Elric gets a strange feeling, almost like déjà vu. Something about all of this seems familiar, as though someone has told him about it before, but he can't quite remember. Sean notices Elric's distant, thoughtful expression and asks what is on his mind, but Elric just brushes it off, pretending everything is fine. Sean smiles and tells Elric not to worry, promising that after this, nobody will ever dare insult or disrespect Elric or the Mervinger family again. Still, Sean confesses that he senses something odd about the whole situation but chooses to ignore it for the moment. Meanwhile, on the other side of the treasure room, Liburn quietly receives a command from a magical Orbi is supposed to eliminate Elric. At almost the same time, someone grabs Elric, also calling him captain, and drags him away to see a secret laboratory. Sean, watching the commotion, jokes that Elric is finally becoming important now, being called captain and all. Soon after, Liburn approaches Sean and tells him there is something amazing to see: a real dragon's corpse hidden behind the mountain of gold. Sean's curiosity gets the best of him, so he follows Liburn, thinking Elric will join them soon. In a far corner of the treasure chamber, they indeed discover a massive, ancient dragon's corpse, looking as if it has been there for thousands of years. Meanwhile, the people who drag Elric away suddenly turn on him and start beating him up. Elric blames himself for letting his guard down. One bully tells him coldly that he has no choice but to finish Elric off, especially with everyone else still distracted by the treasure. Back near the dragon's body, Sean notices something terrifying. The corpse twitches, as if it is coming back to life. At that same moment, Elric tries to scream for help, but his mouth is gagged by the bullies, and he is overwhelmed with regret, thinking of all his hard work and how he is betrayed. As one bully prepares to attack him with magic, Sean's voice suddenly booms across the chamber, warning everyone to get out of the way. What happens next leaves Elric stunned. The supposedly dead dragon springs to life, chasing Sean and Liburn, its awakening filling the entire room with dazzling, blinding light. Trouble after trouble. Elric can hardly believe the chaos unfolding around him. Nothing can prepare him for any of this. Standing face to face with the terrifying dragon, Elric finds himself shaking with fear as the massive skeletal beast roars right at him, its bony jaws wide open and echoing through the chamber. Even though every muscle in his body wants to run, Elric somehow gathers his courage and tells himself that this is just another part of his test, where he must not only find the dragon, but also survive its furious attack. He watches the dragon closely, and suddenly he notices something odd. The dragon, despite all its power, is just standing still and not making a move. His mind starts to spin with possibilities. Maybe the dragon is gathering its strength for another attack, or maybe it's waiting for its powerful breath to recharge. After thinking hard, Elric realizes the truth. The dragon is indeed recharging, so it can use its deadly breath over and over, not just once. Elric quickly turns to the rest of his team and yells for everyone to get ready for another blast. The whole team, together with Sean, raises their magic and forms a strong shield in front of them. Almost instantly, the dragon unleashes its breath, a huge blast of energy so intense that cracks begin to form in their barrier. Elric calculates quickly that the dragon takes about 20 seconds to recharge its breath each time. If they can just hold out and survive this one attack, they might have a chance to fight back and actually win. He glances at the heavy stone door in the chamber and figures out that if they move fast, they can reach the door in 17 seconds and close it in 3, just enough time before the next blast. But before anyone can even make a move, the shield finally gives way, breaking apart completely as the dragon starts to recharge again. Realizing they have a very short window, Elric screams for everyone to run as fast as they can. The team instantly sprints toward the door, with Elric hoping desperately that he'll make it through alive. But just as he's running, something terrible happens. The legendary armored troopers, who are supposed to protect the dragon, suddenly appear and stab Elric from behind. Sean, seeing this, yells out for Elric to defend himself. Elric knows he has no choice but to handle this on his own if anyone is going to make it. Suddenly, a piercing pain shoots through his head, almost knocking him off his feet, and it feels like everything around him becomes connected in a strange way. The pain is so bad that he can't hear anything at all for a moment, but even through the headache, he manages to dodge the next attack. That's when he realizes that his mind is working in overdrive. He can predict exactly where the troopers are going to strike next. As he looks around, he sees a pattern of glowing orbs that seem to mark a safe path, but he also knows it could be a trick or trap. Deciding to trust his instincts, he shouts for everyone to follow him closely. With Sean by his side, the whole team dashes behind Elric, dodging deadly blows as they head for the gates. They are almost safe. But then, at the very last second, Labyrinth person Elric wishes would just stop causing problem strips and falls hard, calling out to Elric to save him. Even though the situation is a complete disaster, and Elric knows it would be easier to just run, he can't bring himself to leave Labyrinth behind. Naturally, Elric can never just leave Labyrinth behind to be caught by the troopers and face danger alone. So even though it puts him at risk, Elric reaches back, grabs Labyrinth's hand, and pulls him to safety with him. The magical troopers, those powerful guards, are now trapped inside the room. Even though the gate is open, something about the enchantment stops them from escaping. Sean, meanwhile, is furious at Elric for risking his own life to save someone else, shouting that Elric should have put himself first. Elric, a little embarrassed and nervous, just lets out a small laugh and says it isn't really his fault things turn out this way. As the group tries to catch their breath, the troopers start making desperate attempts to break free, slamming themselves against the barrier, but they just can't get out. This strange behavior makes Elric deeply suspicious. He starts to wonder if the ancient dragon spell protecting the chamber has been tampered with or damaged in some way, maybe by someone who has arrived before them and wants to manipulate the situation. Suddenly, Elric spots something strange, something that makes him stop in his tracks and stare, hardly able to believe his own eyes. Before he can react, the troopers finally break through the barrier with brute force and come charging after the group. Everyone panics and tries to escape, but to their horror, all exits are blocked. There is nowhere left to run. Thinking quickly, and always ready with a clever plan, Elric does the opposite of what everyone expects. She turns back and runs inside, toward the very danger everyone else is trying to escape. Sean, thinking Elric has completely lost his mind, shouts at him to stop and tries to pull him back, but Elric just smiles calmly and reassures him, saying he will be fine and will catch up soon. Then, with a heavy sound, the door slams shut behind Elric, locking him in and leaving Sean outside, pounding on the door in a panic, begging Elric to open up. But it is no use. Sean can only tremble with fear at the idea of Elric being trapped alone inside the dangerous chamber. As he waits outside, memories flood back to Sean about how his friendship with Elric starts years earlier, after Elric's suspension from school ends. Sean tries again and again to befriend Elric, but Elric always tells him to go away, pushing him aside. Then, one day during a class lesson where students are tested by being told to run a course, Sean is moving quickly when he suddenly trips and nearly falls off a cliff. While he struggles to hang on, bullies come over not to help him, but to mock and torment him. Sean can't use magic to save himself, or he'll fail the test and disappoint his father, so he is sure he will fall. But in the moment he needs it most, Elric appears, grabs him, and pulls him back to safety. When Sean tries to thank him, Elric just tells him to grab a few artifacts from his house in return, treating it like no big deal. Now, back in the present, Sean is terrified for his friend's life. He promises Elric that he will stay nearby and run to get his father and the other powerful elders of his family for help. Elric feels grateful for Sean's loyalty, but deep inside, he knows he's not going to die here. He heads straight in the direction of the dragon, completely certain of what he's about to find. Soon, Elric is wearing magical armor, thinking to himself that life is just a series of trades. He pulls out one of the special gadgets he's been carrying as a surprise for the troopers. Usually, the artifact is activated by mana, but because Elric's illness makes him unable to use magic, he simply releases it in his own way, determined to face whatever comes next.